Joining us now, NewsNation political contributor and Republican strategist Denise Gitsham. She's also served as an aide to President George W. Bush. Good morning to you. Well, all signs point to the government reopening soon, but it's not like flipping a switch. I think for weeks we're going to be dealing with the repercussions of this. Let's start with just the big picture. How do lawmakers from either side justify how long this went on?
Well, Republicans voted consistently to keep the government open, something that a lot of folks on the other side of the aisle kept saying, Republicans are in control. Well, obviously, based on what's playing out, the truth has become clear to even them, which is that Democrats are blaming each other for allowing the shutdown to end. As Hakeem Jeffries said multiple times, including this morning, if it was up to him and the Democrats, the shutdown would continue, and all of the things Brooke and Alicia were just talking about would be compounded. Listen, the damage that has been inflicted by the shutdown is no less than 1 million federal workers who went unpaid or were furloughed. Our economy suffered $11 billion in permanent losses and a 1.5% contraction in the GDP. And small businesses, who are 60% of our workforce, were decimated, not to mention all the flights that were canceled, which results in missed weddings, missed funerals, horrible anxiety, and 42 million low-income Americans who depend on the federal government for their food losing access to those benefits. So again, this is a purely Senate Democrats and now House Democrats. If they were in charge, this would be their issue too. But it was a democratically led and caused shutdown, and now the whole world has to see it. So they are the only ones who are responsible to answering to Americans who are suffering.
Democrats have maintained health care is expensive, out of reach, unaffordable for many Americans. What does the strategy look like from Republicans to address this, which many Republicans agree we have to talk about health care. We have to figure out a less expensive way.
And I blame Republicans when they were in charge previously for not doing something about bringing the cost of health care down. That should have been our priority when we were in charge of Congress last time under President Trump. The problem is a lot of people don't have the backbone to take on what's required to do systematically because they don't want to take on the political pain that comes with real systematic reform. But the reality is it's the Obamacare subsidies that caused Americans to have to triple and double their premiums. And now it requires 2 subsidies, not just one, to afford what's supposed to be called the Affordable Care Act. So tell me how that's a good deal for Americans. It's not. What we have to do is get a bipartisan consensus on the fact that the current system that Democrats continue to fight for is broken. There's no way for American taxpayers or American recipients of ACA subsidies to afford what's happening, as evidenced by the fact that these healthcare premiums are going to skyrocket the minute these subsidies end. That is evidence in and of itself that the current path we're on is not sustainable, and we need a bipartisan solution led apparently by Republicans, because Democrats aren't offering anything other than continuing to feed a broken system, to actually address competitiveness and all sorts of other things that can help bring down the cost of healthcare for all Americans.
And did this shutdown and the pain being felt as a result of it lay the foundation for those important discussions to actually lead to change?
Well, it appears Senate Democrats and House Democrats are immune to the pain of Americans because they would have continued to keep the shutdown ongoing. As they said, we are not voting. You'll see what House Democrats do today when they have a chance to vote. They would like to keep the government closed. So I'm not sure that the message got through to the Democrats, other than the 8 that voted commendably, although far too late, to get the government back on track. I'm not sure that there was a lesson learned by Democrats because, again, they continue to double down on their position. So I think it's really up to Republicans to continue to be the grown-ups in the room and say, we're going to have to keep our government on track. And if they don't, then the president's going to step in. But all this belly aching from Congress about executive overreach, especially by Democrats, and then all of a sudden you wonder why the president has to step in all the time and exceed his executive authority. It's because he's the only one that's been able to solve any problems. And now Senate Democrats are going to have to decide which it is that they want. Do they want to solve this issue on their own in Congress, or do they want the president to come in and fix their mess?
Well, we'll see if the vote passes today. We're not quite out of the woods yet. Denise, thanks as always.